We're live. No. So, okay. I'm going to give an introduction in Spanish, if you don't mind.
All right.
First.
Yes, go ahead. It's going to be sounding interesting.
Yeah. Hopefully. Listo, estamos en este momento con PC Vikram, right? PC
Yes.
Vikram. Entonces, los que van llegando, vayan sentándose, bienvenidos, cojan su cafecito, drink your coffee, get ready for it, váyanse preparando porque vamos a empezar en un momento con PC Vikram en este excelente Crad Live, con este excelente invitado en este momento. Entonces, esperemos un momentico que lleguen un poco más. Let's wait a bit if we have more people joining us. You can share the link before. You have the link already, right?
No.
You have the link, the YouTube link, yeah.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Been setting it up.
Perfect. So, this is our Crad Live number 38. Estamos en el Crad Live número 38. Ya han sido 37 episodios con diferentes artistas increíbles de la industria que hemos invitado en Crad Live. Realmente eso está muy bonito, está creciendo muy chévere y tendremos muchos más invitados con nosotros que estarán compartiendo su experiencia y sus conocimientos con todos nosotros. Así que hoy le quiero dar la bienvenida a este gran artista, a este super artista y un gran amigo mío, que es PC Vikram. PC Vikram, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation. I'm so happy, I'm so glad to have you here. You know, I've been waiting for this Crowd Live since I talked to Somnath like 1 year ago. So for me, it's so good to have you here. And thank you for coming here. Welcome to Crowd Live.
Hey guys, thanks a lot, Andre. It's a pleasure to be here. I heard a lot of beautiful words. I heard a lot of excellence and super artist or something like that. I don't know what you were telling, but thanks a lot. Your language sounds amazing, first of all. And no wonder it's one of the most sexiest languages to hear in the world. And I remember our meeting right back in 2016 where we hit it off as just friends. We didn't even talk about our art. And here we are. After what, 4 years? 4 or 5 years now.
4 or 5 years now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It was the first time we talked. We talked back in 2016. I remember exactly where we were, in Lisbon after the Trojan horse. But we had like a really good conversation, so it's so cool to have you here now and to have the chance to learn from you,
I think learning it's a two-way thing. I've been looking at the stuff that you've been doing and pretty excited about it as well. I always remembered you to be a sculptor originally. Then I know that you are an artist, a very holistic artist as well. So I've been seeing your stuff. It's been inspiring as well with what you're doing with Crad and how you've been taking this art experience of yours back to your country. And it's been a similar journey for me as well, basically.
Thank you very much, man. And exactly, that's what I heard about, and I would like to hear from you. What's your journey? Tell us a bit about yourself. Who is PC Vikram? So people here
All right,
can learn from you.
I'll start from where I am today, basically.
Okay.
So what I do is, this is one of the things that I always was waiting to do in life, which is to enter the movie business. When I say movie business, I had art and pre-production for a company called Redefine in India. It's part of the same family as DNEG, basically. So this company has been a veteran in creating motion picture work in terms of visual effects, art direction, a lot of color work, grading. That's how they started, right? So this is a new offering from India for an Indian market as well as a Eastern market that I cannot head. And this is something that I really wanted to do. And I think this is a beautiful age where I entered it, because today you're seeing a lot of stuff that's done with the magic of Unreal Engine, virtual production. All this is the buzz right now. So I think the stuff is just getting hot. It's interesting. And what a time with this COVID and stuff that we enter virtual production now, which is that it is demanding, but at the same time, it's a blessing. Actors could probably come in and act safe and get out and, There's a lot of things that you could do with like this. So here's where I am. What led me over here was obviously a very long journey, nearly about 20, 25 years that I've spent primarily in animation and
Cool.
a little bit of gaming, right? So in gaming, very honestly, as I worked in companies like Zynga, which does casual gaming, and for a whole bunch of startups, gaming startups
In
in back
India.
in the country, in India,
Okay.
and that is all in casual gaming. But I worked on a lot of gaming trailers when I was an art director with Technicolor. We've worked on some stuff for Lara Croft. We worked on stuff for Mass Effect, for the creators of Final Fantasy. A
Cool.
lot of game trailers, which are very high end and very good fun work to do. And apart from that, it's been mainly a journey in character animation, basically. So I've been an animation supervisor, I've been a designer, I worked on quite a few properties, like ranging from Disney, Nickelodeon, a lot of clients from around the world, basically. So that's been primarily my career. I started as a 2D animator, hand-drawn 2D animation for a French company,
Okay.
where
So
very similarly, like just like you introduced me right now, I would not know the language, but I would be animating for lip sync in French. But that was the beauty of animation, where you could phonetically break down words and be able to kind of like go by pronunciation, listen to the audio cassette at that time, and
okay.
then make all your mouth charts. Sometimes I was completely doing the wrong gestures, but then they would correct me
Of course,
about it.
yeah, I can imagine that. The
Yeah.
cultural stuff around each gesture is different, I guess.
Completely. Like hand gestures could just mean completely different things in different parts of the world. So one had to be careful. So yeah, it's been an exciting journey of art. And this is where I am. You can ask me away more questions and I'll be able to
Cool.
give you
No,
more.
it's perfect, man. What did you study? Why did you get into the art business? I mean, you wanted to be an artist. You wanted to be an animator. You wanted to be in the movies. Why did you start your journey as an
For
artist?
me,
What did you study?
as a kid, I think it goes back as a school kid, basically, because it was bright as day and very clear for me that I would be working as an artist somehow. I'd be doing art mainly. My mother was an artist or is an artist till date, but
Okay.
she never got to pursue a career as an artist. She used to do other sort of work, secretarial work in a company. So then I told myself, she used to tell me that you could actually make this your main career, right?
Okay.
And I was always encouraged, I think, by very nice relatives, cousins, and other people in the family to pursue art. And there were a lot of architects in the family. There were also a lot of people pursuing science, which I was a little afraid of because
Okay.
I had attention problems sitting in
Okay.
class
Okay.
doing the
Okay.
studious stuff, right? I was a very random kid. There'd be times that I'd get like about, let's say, 90 on 100 for math, but then that would just be once, right? I wouldn't be able to do that again.
Okay.
But
Okay.
with art, I could do that daily. That was happiness for me.
You can have like
So
a
I think,
really good focus on art.
yes, interest, I would say. Uh, that led me to design college, basically, which I ended up not finishing. I dropped out
Oh my
because
god.
I wanted to learn classical animation and I was very clear about it. And somehow there were a lot of exercises in design college that one had to do, not just art. It wasn't just drawing all the time, but there's a lot of stuff that you had to do, which my mind again was not focusing on because I felt I was back in another school and I wasn't doing well,
Okay.
right? So I kind of like started screwing up and I realized that all I want to do, there's one good faculty who kind of like, I mean, everybody was good, but there's one particular person who was very nice to me. And he told me, Vikram, all you want to do is just draw. So
Okay.
get out of here and start your art career, right?
Start learning,
So that's
doing what you
that
love.
that's what set me out. Yes, that's what set me out
That's amazing, man.
eventually.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
When you started to draw, you started like feeling passion for it, passion
Of
for art, for animation.
Yes. Animation, I was very lucky because my mother, me as probably a eighth grader, she brought me a book which was Preston Blair, and it was just from a book fair that she'd gotten the book. And I kind of kept seeing these walk cycles, run cycles,
Cool.
dogs walking, a puma running, and I would draw. I would trace initially with using
Which
like
ones?
transparent paper,
Yes.
and I would make flip books out of these. So that kind of was very easy. I always thought I knew animation because of that, way before I actually got into formally sitting on a light table and drawing, basically.
That's amazing. What kind of references did you have to start, getting interested in animation? Did you see like maybe Disney movies, or maybe it
Yeah.
was like, how was the industry in India? There was like
There
animation movies
was,
before you started, or
right. So I think I was very lucky in one sense, which is that I was one of the first initial batches. There were people probably 4 or 5 years senior to me who were already in it, basically. But we were all together, and there was not too much difference because everybody headed into it at the same time. There were just two television channels. There were
okay,
just a few Saturday or Sunday morning cartoons. And it was mostly through a video library that I've discovered, and through cousins who used to come from overseas that I've discovered different cartoons and different animated properties. When they used to bring videotapes, we used to sit and watch it together as school children in the summer holidays. And that's how my taste started building up, basically,
that's
initially.
that's so cool, man. We all started like watching references and aiming to
Okay,
work in this industry, right? And what I'm seeing here is that you started and you didn't think about anything else yet. I just want to work in this. I love this,
right.
and I will do this. Did you have like sometimes like fear for
Fear,
getting
lots of fear.
into the animation?
No, my thing was always fear of failure and something that I do because I had to prove to myself that I'm consistent at
Okay,
something first because I was building this bad track record. Things like dropping out of a college was not setting in well.
okay,
So I think the fear was a big motivator for me. Fear of failure, fear of not being consistent. So I think the fear motivated me so much that my mother was surprised that at a point where for a very long time I lived with my mother. And she was very surprised when she saw me go to work, learn animation, do animation, come back, and in the night I'd be drawing continuously from books of anatomy, right? I wanted to be very good at drawing the human figure and the animal, like animal anatomy. So I'd be sitting and drawing. She used to be like, "Man, you're like drawing so seriously, like you could have probably become a doctor if you decided to." I said, "No, this is what I want to be."
cool. That's so cool
So
because we as artists we start learning anatomy, and we think like it is not too much maybe, and maybe doctors know
yeah,
a lot of more than us, but
yeah,
if you think about it, it's a lot. I mean, learning all the muscles, all the bone structure,
yeah,
dynamics, a lot of stuff
absolutely,
going in there. Like a general doctor, but also like a physiatrist, a lot of stuff. So it's
exactly.
it's it's so interesting.
Yeah,
And we as artists maybe we don't understand how big is this knowledge. We just
it is.
keep learning, and in one
Yeah.
point or yeah, we know a lot of stuff, and we think it's not too much, but it's quite a journey.
Yeah. I mean, like yourself, like a sculptor, it's not just learning it or making it look real, but it has to be actually accurate where a muscle starts and where it ends, because there's no way you can cheat it, right?
There is no way exactly. The eyes don't lie. It's
Yep.
crazy there. Um, what what led you get into for example, in the game industry?
Game industry was purely the interest for game design, because there was a point, I think, in 2012 that I was working with Technicolor. And yeah, I was doing the same thing for several years, which is animated TV series. And I wanted to either move up in the food chain and be working at a story level, which I couldn't break through that barrier sitting here. Somehow, like it was very difficult to make it into the higher circles of Nickelodeon or something. Well, though they did offer me design work over there, but I wanted to work on story. And I think it's the interest of story that led me to look for places which are doing game where I could, even if it's a small story, I wanted to try it out over there. And then I realized that more than story, there's something which is very beautiful, which is involving the other side of the brain, which is solving problems, creating a problem for others to solve, which I
Okay,
found very exciting.
creating puzzles.
Yes, puzzles. So, like, even in art, you would have seen like many artists like Escher who created visual puzzles. Like, how do these people keep continuously walking on that so it doesn't end. Have you seen MC Escher's work, like the Mobius strip,
No,
etc.?
I haven't, but
He
I
does
think
optical illusions.
like
I'm sure you've
loops.
seen it. It's just that probably,
Wait, sorry,
yeah.
which one? What is the name of that?
MC Escher. Let me just send you a link, probably.
Okay. While you send me the link, I'm going to ask people if
Yeah,
you
I'm
hear
probably
me.
not pronouncing it right. Yeah, it is. It could just be a matter of just look up. 1 second.
Don't worry.
This was someone who was always like fascinating for me as a kid. One of the artists that I was like, oh my God, this guy's mind bending. So that's the artist. I sent it to you on
MC
chat.
Escher. I don't know how to pronounce it right.
Escher. Yeah.
I'm going to write it here in the YouTube so people can look for it.
Yep.
So it says.
So it started as simple visual puzzles as a kid because I used to love puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, puzzles of all sorts, basically, word puzzles, finding missing links, finding hidden objects, these kind of stuff. So that's what led me. And of course, when I walked into a company, I couldn't choose the game that I was working on, but it was games.
That's amazing. And when you started doing games, do you think that your passion moves from animation to the game industry? I mean, from creating movement to creating puzzles, for example?
Exactly. And storytelling. There's a little
And
bit of
storytelling.
storytelling and narration. And for me, it's like this. The way I look at it, like today, if I wanted to make an animated movie here in my country, it's probably difficult to have 100 consistent artists, right, in animation. For me, it's easier to put together a game with smaller sprites, with a smaller team, like about 15 to 20 people could just put a game together, and it would be a lot more engaging sometimes. So I've
Okay.
always keep like the IP that I create, I always try to look at it saying, could I make a game out of this one? Like, should I be making a game rather than a movie? Because a movie is a lot of passion, a lot of effort, and sometimes it's just bombs, basically. And you have to convince too many people to get it done. But a game is something that reaches you as a publisher if you have the ability to publish it on the App Store and Google Play, and or you go with an established publisher. The reach to the audience is direct as well, and I like that aspect of it.
You put an interesting point here, like we all can make games right now. Like no, in the days,
Absolutely,
we all can make a game and put it out there in the Apple Store or in the Play Store. So it's about
absolutely.
us, you know. I saw an interview with you like some days ago, and you were telling
Uh-huh.
about that it's our time to tell stories. You know, it's our time to
Can you say
tell
that again?
stories, to blueprint ourselves and tell stories.
Yeah,
What do you think about it? Like, what's your point about it?
I mean, my point is that like making blueprints, that's what I keep talking about, which is that you're either serving somebody else's food chain, basically. And the way that, I mean, this is with no offense to anybody or any company or anything in the industry. And industries, the companies are set up for a certain profitability of the top of the pyramid, right? The top percentage of the pyramid gets to make the decisions. But there's always somebody inside us who's probably working on AAA games, but for somebody else, or movies, but for somebody else. But we aren't making that little small film or that small game that you're talking about for ourselves and putting it out there. And that's the part of it that I was talking about when I mentioned blueprinting, saying
Okay.
we should all be blueprinting. Like, look at this explosion of NFTs right now. I don't want to discuss it as a subject, but the direct to audience part is what is appealing, right, about it to the people, and then artists helping artists create further. What do you? I mean, that's the part that I was like probably looking at much earlier.
That's an interesting point. Maybe we can talk about it at the end of the
You do?
interview because it's a lot of.
Sure.
I mean, I wanted to ask you about what do you think about it. It's been a great explosion. Uh,
It's
sometimes I
amazing.
think
It's here.
it's cool. Sometimes I think it's not so cool. But
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to get into that subject later. But
Sure.
with Crad, what I'm telling to people these days was like when I talked to Shuso the last day on
Yeah.
Trojan Horse was a unicorn. I was like, I think I'm ready to get into the industry. I'm like, I think I have the technical knowledge to get into. And he was like, but if you have the technical knowledge, why would you like to work to tell another one's stories? Why would you like
Right.
to tell Pixar stories? Why would you like to tell, tell stories that are not yours? You are from Colombia. You are from a Latin America, country. There are a lot of stories that you can tell. Why don't you use your technical stuff, your technical knowledge, and tell your own stories? And I was like, he's totally right. Sometimes it's hard, We are looking for a dream job. We're looking for a job, and this job led us to tell someone else's stories. But we don't understand that maybe what it would be really important as well is to tell our own stories, to tell the people who we are, to tell the world our country's stories. I think
Yeah.
it's thing quite a good question in there. What do you think about it?
No, that's absolutely right. Because I think if you were to fire up, what do you say, Amazon Prime, or if you were to look up a Disney Hotstar, if you were to look up a Netflix, all these movies that we see out there, even in an OTT platform, it's all triggered by a very small percentage of people who get to have a say in it, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a studio method of doing these and producing these. And that's why sometimes you don't see that much variety, basically, right? But heartfelt stories that come from a nation which is like not probably known for making movies like Hollywood does. But today's age, technology, reach, everything put together, I think it's all possible, completely possible, basically. And this whole thing of, this, what I like, again, what happens with direct to the audience is the fact that there's no middleman really required to gate your film and say if you're worthy or not, basically, right? So I think it's all the more important for younger people as well to start making movies. You can shoot it with your phone. Uh, you got a story to tell, just do it. Go ahead and do it. You don't need millions of dollars, is what I really believe.
I truly believe that because I mean it's crazy. It's crazy. I was thinking about that the other day. When I was a kid, I dreamed to have my drawings, everywhere and printed in somewhere,
Hmm.
like in a book or something like that. And when I was a kid, I used to draw in a paper and then go to the and I mean make a lot of prints of that drawing, you know. So I had like a 20 prints of my own drawing that I had when I was a kid, and I was okay. I did it. I wanted to have my drawing printed. I fucking did it. And I
That's an
was like
amazing
I was
feeling,
like
right?
12 years ago. I mean, no, 12. When I was 12, I did it, and I was
Right,
so good because I saw my drawing printed, and I was,
right.
we can make it. We can make it. Nowadays, it's easier to do a lot of stuff, and sometimes it's just about, do it. Go ahead. It's like go for it.
Absolutely,
It's
absolutely.
start writing, start drawing your own stories. Sometimes people,
Yeah,
that's what I. What do you think about portfolios, for example? What do you think about personal work in your portfolio rather than professional work in your portfolio? A lot of people love to create professional work and put it in your portfolio, but they
yeah,
forget to do personal work.
absolutely.
What do you think about it?
So I think it's very important to have because most of the times, like I would surely like to do another session probably where I just do a show and tell of all my work one day. Uh, but the thing is that the work that always got me the next job wasn't what I did with the previous company. That experience was taken. Okay, he worked on so and so project. Okay. But the work that they would get to see is the work that I would have done, which doesn't belong to anybody else, which is just mine.
That's amazing.
And I would have tons of it. So I was never ever lacking in portfolio because it did happen to me once that one of the companies that I worked in closed and I had to go get another job. And I realized everybody's having the same show reel and saying everybody claims that I did the scene. I was like, oh my God, there's going to be nothing special about me unless I show what I have inside me, basically.
What I'm made of.
Yes. And that had to go back right to being that kid who loves to draw all the time. Like you said, like print out that work. And I had to put it out there saying, look at my stuff. right? Like this is what I did for companies. This is me.
Yeah, that exactly. That's amazing. That's amazing, and I think it's important right now where people are looking at our work using social media, to expose their
Yeah,
work, to see art, and mostly now with NFTs and stuff. I think it's our time to start creating our stories. Telling what we think,
absolutely.
telling what we love, telling what inspires us in our personal
Right?
work. Sometimes people
Right.
love trends, love to go with trendings and love to go with where everyone else is going. But what if you tell what you love? Maybe you can
Absolutely.
connect with someone else. Maybe
Very true.
maybe you can show what you really are, who you really are. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, my accent is my English is not. It's a bit rust.
That's relative. Mine would sound funny from a different perspective, I'm sure.
Yeah, I guess so. I got. I remember I met someone from Australia and he was like, "Do whatever you want, but never change your accent." I was like, "Okay, I can try it." Cool. Um,
So yeah, so that part of it is very important. The other thing about your own work is also the fact that it's like your signature, basically, right? And
exactly. Your voice,
I mean, kids, yeah, it's like nice. It's very cool to always leave a signature of what you've done, basically.
your style as well. What?
Your style, because I believe it's like in gaming, we say this, in casual gaming, we say this, that there is a game for everyone. So a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not a gamer. I don't play games." I say, "No, there is a game for you. You've not discovered it yet, right?"
That's
In a
amazing.
similar way, I really believe that there is a fan and an audience for your story somewhere out there, right? We don't know if it's one or we don't know if it's 10,000, basically, but they're surely out there, and it's a matter of finding them, your story finding them.
Yeah, maybe. And if you don't write your story, this audience will never see their story. That,
Yeah.
that's a good that's a good point. I love it. It's so inspiring, that one. I love that. How this is what I want to learn, to know more about you. How how have you helped young artists in India to get into the industry? I've met a lot of young artists from India, and they somehow say, "Hey, PC Vikram," somehow young people, young artists, young animators in India refer to you. Why? Why is that?
I think right from the time that I started work, and since about 95, 96 that I'm talking about, I had good buddies who were working along with me, basically. We all kind of traveled, journeyed together through 2000s and later. And as time went by, one thing that was very important to me, which is something that drew me to THU also, was the sense of brotherhood, a sense of classless, good community of people coming together.
Yeah.
But today, it's not something that I've been doing today. It's been something that I've been doing since much earlier. And today, it's all the more important for me where there are a lot of young artists, fantastic folks around here. Opportunities aren't easy, so nobody gives you a break directly to the best work, right? Like people would look through portfolios, people would look through, they want Michelangelo's portfolio. But getting a break is just a question of just a gesture sometimes saying, you want to play here? Come, try playing over here. Not just like the big boys, including the younger boys, to come in and play, basically. And then they will show you how the game is played, and then you'll be learning from them. So I've seen that only too many times to know that it's a selfish motive for me to bring in young blood because the thoughts are always fresh. It's always never a dull moment over there.
Cool.
And I think it's the wheels of an industry turning when you have more people come and enjoy it and kind of push up the whole industry that companies like mine could probably or other companies could also start producing a lot more quality products under a more realistic budget, also faster to the audience, basically. So this is something that's going to trigger. It's a long story, but I just understand this mechanism somehow over here. And I find that it's very important to motivate and push people. I also teach in a couple of the campuses over here as a visiting faculty every year. So for me, it was always hand-holding their journey till the time that they get a job and a little beyond as well, basically. So I have a lot of my students who are now working with me as well, even in this new job of mine.
That's so good because you're giving them the opportunity. Sometimes, as you said, when we're starting, we have fear, fear of failure, and some
Yeah,
part of that fear of failure is where am I going to work? If the industry is not so big, that happens in Colombia as well. A lot of like years
yeah,
ago, industry was not so big, so people were afraid. Where am I going to get a job in art? Because well, I love to do art, but there is no industry here. So what you're doing that now is like bringing them the opportunity to get into the
yeah,
industry, to start their job, knowing that
yes,
maybe they are not so good technically because they need to get experience, they need to get, through different projects to get that experience and that technical approved,
right,
but you're giving them the opportunity to show their work, to show what they're made of.
absolutely,
So that's amazing,
absolutely.
man. That's amazing, and for sure that has helped a lot of generations in India since you started
Yeah,
doing that. So that's cool, man.
thank you. I think I would thank them as well because they really make my day.
Cool, man. I think that's cool. What do you think? What do you think about your culture being exposed in the world? How would you expose Indian culture through your work, for example?
Hmm. So I think India for me means the timeline for me of India is as they call it, a continuum. It's like a song that never stops, right? Like if you look at the temples and some of those places, historical places, in most countries they are cherished, maintained well, but called as ruins, right? For us over here, they're not called ruins because they're still actively used the way it used to be used 1,000 years ago. It's functional,
Okay,
basically.
okay,
So that's a beautiful continuum for me. When I look at something that's been used by generations, I'm just thinking, saying, somebody 1,000 years before stood right here on this rock, doing exactly what I'm doing right now, which is, like taking part of a festival or whatever, being an observer of times. So this, along with the modern that is available present today, is the voice and the story. The expression of this is what I look at when Indians put out work through movies, art, telling stories which are from the past or the present, connecting all these things together, right? And it's also a very evolving story of humanity throughout the world, basically. And that's pretty much like a hive mentality. If there's a change happening somewhere in LA, the same change is felt over here today in this part of the world. If something is probably happening in Colombia today, I would get to hear about it tomorrow over here. And people start thinking about governments, about the way who's leading us, where are we going. So the story of humanity itself is a continuous story. So in that representing my world today, the more I think about it, fiction becomes slightly more difficult for me because there's a lot of fiction, but the facts need to come out,
okay.
right? Fact is stranger than fiction. And telling a real story of, let's talk about conservation. Let's talk about, like you probably seeing these around you right there, which is what percentage of your natural forests are still active? Are they hacking it down? Are they being preserved well versus your life? I think an artist is somebody who can only talk about art in context to the times that he's living in, basically. If there are bombs dropping all around me, if there are too many hungry people all around me, I alone can't be, happy, right? I can't be just telling a pretty tale, which is like, wrapped in a nice ribbon and give it to people of hope. I have to talk about what the problem is, basically, right? So I find that a lot of people who are able to bring across stories that matter to humanity, which have real world impact, maybe through their art or their work, which makes somebody stop for a minute and think, I think that's really fantastic, basically. And that's
You
where my headspace is probably right now.
you put a good point here. Like, it's not about Colombian story, for example, or Indian story. It's about
Right?
the story, just the part of the story that you're living in.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a portion of it because it's a continuous
Yes.
timeline. That's a good point, because the Colombia, for example, the Colombia I know now is different than the Colombia that was like 30 years ago. So what I
Right.
what I know is different. What I know is changing. What I know is global. And Colombia has been changing through that movement. So it's amazing what you're telling me here. And you tell something important about there's a lot of fiction, and sometimes we want to tell fictional stories. There's a lot of
Yeah.
reference out there that maybe merge into our stories. How
Right.
important would be, for example, I was thinking about that recently, to tell fictional stories, our own stories, but it could be aliens or whatever, but maybe put there some cultural aspects from your country,
Right.
from our country. So people that are interested in sci-fi, for example, in the world, would see the movie or would see the story or would read the book, whatever, but they will
Right.
find some aspects that are a cultural um, insights from our countries. I don't know what you think about it. Like, put some cultural stuff in some fictional stories.
Absolutely. Because if you look at the mythological stories from India, right, not many people can believe. There are probably lots of people, and most people believe it is all true. But it does all sound like science fiction, all right? So it's already set in a fantasy space, right? The story of, you've seen the elephant-headed god, Ganesha.
Yeah.
So the story was that his own dad kind of like, like removed his head because
Okay.
he stopped his father's entry while his mother was bathing to the palace. And then it was later replaced with the head of a smaller elephant, basically, a normal boy. So if you look at these are not believable. These are all fantastical stories. And now you call them your gods, you worship them, you've given them identities. Then there are values and virtues that you attach to them, basically. So this is, if you look at it at a lighter level and remove religion and everything out of it, what I'm trying to tell is that there's a lot of lore, there's a lot of imaginative stuff. Probably that's where, in this country, for me, I started understanding that I'm born in storytelling because you're born listening to a story, right? Your grandmother or grandfather or your mom or dad is telling you a story when you're eating, right? You're telling you a story which is fun, which is interesting. They're telling you a story about this. And you as a kid are looking around and questioning stuff that you see. Like, we never know what something is made of. So somebody told me, when somebody tells me the story of this elephant-headed god, and I'm like, oh my God. It's like, that's interesting, that's exciting. And so who's this guy with the eagle head? And it goes on. So fiction, it's like if you now flip and look at something, a movie like Pan's Labyrinth or something like that, like Guillermo del Toro,
Yeah.
it is built on dark fairy tales with a certain believable reality, which is the setting in which the movie is happening. There's a story of hope, there's a story of melancholy. So fiction mixed with believable reality is also very interesting.
It
Like,
is.
it gives hope.
That exactly. That's amazing, and I think it's something that we need to explore more. And I think it's a great field to show our culture and to show our stories and get like the interest of the world in this kind of productions.
Completely.
What do you think is the right mindset to success in the industry?
Oh, success in the industry is a very elusive subject for me. Did I
It
say that
is.
I'm successful? I'm just happy. I'm not successful in that definition. My success, I'll tell you what my success is. My success is I did not know what I set out for. Of course, like everybody, I wanted to make a lot of monies. I wanted to be part of this somewhere in the middle, right? When you're trying to rise up in the ranks. But right now, my success definition of success has gone back to what it was when I was 18 and I started, which is to make lots of friends and do lots of art
That's amazing.
and surround myself with fun people. So I think one is being open. Keep an open ear for other points of view. It's a very important uh, point that I would tell youngsters and people, saying have your own voice, have a strong voice, but let the strength of that voice come out through your work, basically, and be having an open mind, because these open allowing open thoughts, basically, which is to be open to other people, receptive to other people's thinking, allows you to kind of make friends, takes you on a little journey. Like you spoke to Shuzo, you were talking to me about it, who's from Japan. And just his point of view changed some of the ways that you were thinking. And here you are doing your own thing, right? So you're allowing for other people to come in and help you out without even realizing so. So I think that really carries you to wherever you would want to go. Basically. Just that one thing.
That's a, I haven't thought about it, but it's a really good point. Being open of it. Actually,
Yeah.
I was looking at one of your posts in Instagram. You were looking at a conference in Trancourse, and one of them, you had a picture there, and one of their advice is like being open to opportunities, being open to different stuff, because sometimes this can save your ass or something like that. It says like that, the quote.
Yes, yes. Yes, yeah, yeah. It was about that. It's about mix of cultures. It's about mix of people who come inside and saying that, this is what makes the whole beautiful world tick. This is the reason why we crossed oceans and went to meet people. And look what we brought back
Cool,
is,
man. But
right, positive change.
when you see back in your career, in your path, in your journey, what is that advice that you would love to have received, 10 years ago or
Advice?
20 years ago? Like that you said,
Advice.
if someone
Yeah.
had tell me that, maybe something has changed, or maybe something was better, maybe something would be easier, maybe something would be, I don't know, like a
Okay.
good advice.
So the good advice that I would have given the younger me, probably if I time traveled, would be two things. One is about putting away money diligently in a very disciplined way, which I didn't. I spent a lot. So that could have built me a nice corpus of money to fall back on. And the most other important thing is to say, draw right now everything that you want to do, build yourself right now, because this forever is a unknown zone. We never know what the future holds. I'm 45 years old. There are days where I don't know what's happened to my body from an injury from about 20 years ago, a sport injury. And
Yes.
I have like a bad day, a super bad day, which leads to fear, which leads me to a therapist, so many things. So when you're healthy, uh, do as much as you can, because health is also not something you can take for granted, basically. So that's something. I mean, you're a fitness pro, so you would know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that 2 weeks ago, because I had a kind of an injury here in my wrist, my
Hmm.
wrist, because of my working place, and because of a lot of drawing, a lot of exercising. So my wrist was like so like kind of injured. I didn't have
Hmm.
strength in my hand, and I was
Oh
thinking, damn it, what happens if my hand
man,
stopped working,
skill.
man? This is my tool to draw, to create art, to do a lot of stuff. So I was so worried, no, everything get
Yeah,
better, but I was thinking about it. So it's a good point about it.
that's
Draw every day,
that
every
that's
moment, use it.
yeah. And I think like apart from just exercise, fitness, something for the mind is that I think I don't know how you feel, but I feel great when I see like a 4 o'clock or a 5 o'clock sunshine, a golden sunshine. And I think we should all get a lot more light, basically. Step out, experience stuff a little more. Spend some time outside also, not just staying inside.
That's what I've been learning, and what I'm trying to tell everyone here in Crad. Sometimes we are so into art, so into our work, so into get better, so into learn, that we are, this is our space, this is our bubble, and we don't get
Yep.
out of this bubble, and we don't understand that we are losing good moments with family, with friends, getting out of house, going to sports, a lot of stuff that is life. So part of our life is in our studio, and sometimes we don't separate, work work life with life.
Yeah.
And sometimes
Yeah.
when I was younger, I get out of school, go to my house, keep drawing, then learn 3D, and it was 11, 12 in p.m., and I still work, and I went to sleep, then go back to study, and it was every day the same thing, the same thing. So my family was doing some stuff, and my friends were doing some stuff, but I was here working, 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 and at some point, this is not healthy. This is like, what is going on with my life if I'm every time here in my studio? So I think it's important what you said, like trying to balance life and art and work and relationships.
Yeah. Can I ask you one question?
Of course.
Which is that I'm sure that we'll have a lot of viewers from India too. So it'll be nice to kind of like I would like to ask you like what is the context or what is the backdrop of Colombia? What are your struggles over there? What are the things that work well over there? What is it known for? Few things basically, and where is it headed probably in terms of for the arts? Is it a nice place that you could follow a career?
Colombia is a nice place, to live here, to be. Thinking about weather is a great place to be because there are some places that all the time is warm, all the time, all the year the year is cold, for example. So it's so cool to live here. People are great.
Okay.
People are so great,
Okay.
so open and so humble to talk. To where I come from are so humble, and I love to be in that space. The problem of Colombia has always been violence. That some
Yep.
groups started doing violent stuff because they are against the government.
Mhm.
Government here in Colombia has its troubles. It's a lot of lies to people. They steal money from us. They use money in things that we don't need it, and they don't use it in things that we need it. For example, they don't use it in education, but they use money in war. So a lot of people are not happy with government. So past governments have been doing a lot of violent stuff, killing people as well. So we always are against our government. Always are thinking about against our government. This is like the problem that we had because Colombia is a great country that if it is a good managed, maybe we can do a lot of great stuff. But sometimes government is like the big problem that doesn't let the people to be better. So violence combined with this kind of bad governments and some bad decisions of some people, then they started selling drugs and stuff. This is the background of Colombia. Unfortunately,
Wow.
recently, I'm talking about like 20 years ago, sports, and arts are making our country great.
Okay.
Coming back from these how to say issues, cenizas. Well,
Yeah.
we're trying to build up the country through art, through music, through dance, through sports. So you can see now Colombian artists maybe in the radio in India. Maybe you can see Colombian sportsmen in the newspapers. Maybe you can see soccer players. Maybe you can see athletes. So it's great how arts and how sports have helped Colombia to keep growing, to regrow and to come back to the country that we want to be. So we try to annihilate this kind of government stuff through, positive, through goodbye, through music, through arts, through tourism, because we are a great country. So that's like the background. Sorry if I talk too much.
No, it's interesting to know because uh, like everybody has like struggles in their country, but nothing like it if you could make money from where you are. And so it's easy. You don't have to go out. You don't have to leave your family. You don't have to travel to some other country unless, I mean, travel is an experience, but we all need peace and harmony in order for any of these industries to survive well.
Exactly, exactly. And I've met a lot of people from Colombia that they are working in different countries. They are fine, but they miss sometimes like the warmth of the country and the warmth of the family because yeah, they're working in the industry, but they're like some 2 years in Australia, 2 years in Japan, 2 years in Mexico, 2 years in Argentina, 2 years in London. And that's life, like 2 years here, 1 year here, 1 year here. They're moving, and they cannot set up because the industry is not for that. I mean, it's crazy.
Mhm.
You're right. And what do you think? What do you think is the best legacy that you have left so far?
The best legacy,
Yeah,
you're saying?
your legacy for now, until now.
Until now, like that, you're talking about projects that I've loved working on, the
What do
best
you think?
things
What do you
yet.
think about your legacy? I mean, maybe it's not about the project. Maybe it's about something you
Yeah.
have. Maybe it's about helping artists in the India industry.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what this I was talking to a very close friend last evening, and it kind of like became something that I was getting conscious about as I was having that conversation last evening, which was to do about education and the quality being very important. Okay, super high quality education at a super affordable price, available for people who, without class and background, would be able to avail that, right? Because that's a huge problem to crack here for me. Even if I was to offer something for free for somebody, because then there are language barriers. So if I'm going to teach in English, in India, there are more than 24 main strains of languages, and they all have subsets,
Okay,
24 plus,
that's so
right?
much.
You can imagine. That's a lot. That's a lot. So now, if I was to just solve the problem in the very state or city that I live in, right? There are at least about 3 to 4 languages that people speak over here. And if I was to help people, I have to first cross the language barrier, which is okay, I know those languages, I can speak to them in those languages. But then to learn, let's say, a software or an interface of a ZBrush or an animation tool, but then they'll need that language again, right? So language has to be sorted out for them. So that there are small problems like this which need to be sorted out. And I was telling myself that this is one big bridge that I would like to create, and just put it out there for free. I don't know if I will do it as a digital platform. I will do it as something which is physical because there's a beautiful energy that is passed when you're in class teaching people. I said probably I'll be like a traveling circus moving around doing this. And that's something that I even put a specific date on, saying that, by the time I'm 50, I want to have this show on the road. That about 4 to 5 months of a year, I would like to be teaching and bringing in more fantastic artists like Somnath that you met and spoken to. A lot of these kind of people to come inside and be part of it, basically.
That's
So that's the legacy that I'd like to
that's
look forward
amazing.
for.
That's amazing. That's amazing because sometimes people don't have the the medium, to get close to the industry.
Right.
And if we can do it, why not? Maybe it's languages, maybe it's money, maybe it's
Yeah.
access to it. So
Right.
that's a great legacy, man. What do
That's
you
the
think
thing.
about learning English to get into this industry? For example, Colombian
Uh,
here in Colombia we speak in Spanish, but a lot of people
right.
don't know how to speak in English. They don't know the language,
Okay. Hmm.
and sometimes they don't want to learn it. But what do you think? How important is it to learn English to get into this industry?
I don't think it's important. It's just that a lot of it's just a question of if you're working for companies from Los Angeles or something. Of course, it becomes mandatory. It's not even a choice that you would excel only if you know it. But then it's not the only criterion. It just good enough to pass is good enough, is what I think, basically. Right? Just I need to communicate with you. I don't need to be
Okay,
an expert at it.
okay. That get like how to understand and how to get you understand.
Yes.
Get them understand
Yeah.
you.
simple sentence formations, right? That's good enough.
Yeah. Here I'm going to say hi to Ayan de Chowdhury, to Silu,
Oh,
and to Chen. Guys, how are
wow.
you? Hola chicos, ¿cómo están? I hope you are enjoying this. This is a great. If you have any question, don't hesitate. Just ask it through the chat, and I'm going to ask it directly to PC Vikram, because it's been a really good talk so far. I love it. I've been learning a lot. I've been inspiring myself a lot with your thoughts. And as always, man, the way you talk, the way you express yourself, the passion that you put it into when you talk is so good that I'm always inspired, and I'm always learning. This kind of gentleman, this kind of gentle talk, and that's amazing. That's so good, man. I want to thank you
It's
for
amazing
that.
that you remember me as a gentleman because we were just hanging out like schoolboys the first time that we met. And yep, thank you.
We did, and we had our beers. But
Yep,
the way that you talk and the way that you communicate is good, man. It's good. It's something to learn from. So it's amazing, man.
likewise. It's just meeting wonderful people from around the globe that I started probably imitating them. So it's not something which is from inside. It's something about just about, how do you present yourself out there that probably comes out.
Cool, man. That's something that we held for life. This kind of knowledge.
Right?
Um, do you have like any artists that have inspired you through your journey?
Man, tons, too many to name one, but I'll tell you the ones that started my journey for me, basically. Of course, there's a couple of artists from India called MF Hussain. If you're interested, I'll just put his name over
Yes.
here.
Let me.
I was always looking up his stuff, and let me just put the name out here on chat.
MF Hussain. Yeah.
Yes, MF Hussain. And of course, there was like noteworthy people that I knew. Actually, it was more like architects like Frank Lloyd Wright. I used to see a lot of architecture books. So Frank Lloyd Wright. I'm just going to put this again.
Yeah.
And then, like, I kind of like was more impressed and interested with inventors, like the Wright brothers, the guys who made the first biplane or plane. I'm just going to put some of these names out here for people that you watch your show. So for me, it was more interesting to see what these guys' different minds did. Then, of course, it started when I got serious about it. Of course, there were people like Frank Frazetta. I was looking at Norman Rockwell. I was looking at Frederick Remington. The list goes on from there. From there, it's been a cascade of classical realism, Hellenistic era artists. I don't know if we ever spoke. No, we met in 2019, where after Malta, I went to Italy, Rome, basically, and I went to the Vatican Museum,
Cool.
and I got to see all these artists that I've been reading and seeing pictures about for 25, 30 years now, and I literally had tears. So I stayed there for about 4 days of daily visits to the Vatican, and I was like so blessed that all the stories that I've read of Michelangelo and everything just came true over there.
Wow.
And I don't know if you as a sculptor would have studied the Laocoon, the guy with two children over here and a python winding around him,
I
the Greek
haven't.
sculpture the Laocoon, which inspired Michelangelo. And I was just standing in front of it and I was searching for it. And somebody just pointed me saying, it's standing right behind you. Let me put that one.
Yeah.
That was a moment for me. And I remember the story of how uh, Michelangelo kind of, as a young boy, went over there to the site where it was excavated, and it was an old Greek sculpture, right? There, the lagoon. And I went nuts, bananas seeing these. So for me, anything from that era motivates me. And so does a lot of temple work that happens in India, architecture that happens over here. Uh, really, I'm inspired by all these things.
Cool, man. Here we have a question. I don't know. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce it right. Your name it says Abhishek Singh. I'm
Abhishek
sorry.
Singh.
Sing. Okay, I'm so sorry if I don't pronounce it right, but he says two most inspiring art moments. Can you name
Two most,
two most inspiring art moments for you?
I don't know if I had two most inspiring art moments. For me, art moments were always discovery of an artist in person. Basically, probably one of my early mentors was there. Um, and what could be a, yeah, it was actually MF Hussain discovering standing in front of one of his works really had done that to me, that he could represent something in abstractness. Let me just look for it basically. There's this drawing that he made of Mother Teresa, which was super abstract. So how do I put this? Yes, that, sorry, it's, let me just paste this page. I don't know where I saw this, but I saw an art print of this. So Mother Teresa was this personality who was doing a lot of humanitarian work in India, taking care of people with different kind of problems, uh, really working for the poor people. And she was just represented by that cowl that she was wearing. And he didn't have to draw a personality inside. All he had to do was just do what he did over here. And he did a whole series around this, which was fantastic. And there's this one painting of, one second. Um, Automedon with the horses of Achilles. So I don't know if I'm answering Abhishek right by saying art moments, but there are far too many. Discovering Abhishek was an art moment, which really was nice. So if you were to Google this art, this since childhood till date is an art piece that really kind of, this theme of Automedon with the horses of Achilles. Whichever version of this I see of it, it reminds me to draw horses excellently. And I just wanted to draw horses excellently looking at this. I think I had it in a book when I was a kid,
That's
and I
cool.
was always wowed by it.
They're so good art moments, so
It's
good
so
inspiration.
energetic, right? Yeah,
Energetic, all of
yeah,
them.
yeah,
Also, the Lacoon, so energetic and so dynamic, even if it is just a sculpture, it looks
yeah,
so dynamic. I think I'm
yeah.
going to study a lot of them because it's amazing and I didn't know them. So it's cool to understand and to learn, as you said, to be open to what people want to tell, and to maybe learn from them and get inspired from them. So it's so cool. Um, so Abhishek Singh, I hope it answers your question. And yeah, so more of it. Cool, man. What do you want for PC Vikram in the future? What is that thing that big project or that big um, blueprint that you want to do in the future or in the
I
days
don't have
coming?
any one particular thing, of course. I mean, I would of course love to work in movies myself, and as in like create or make movies is something that I've always been fascinated with as a goal. Even if not, one of the things I told you just some time back about working with education, having a real world impact, and if that's a good model, be able to replicate that in different places in and around the country for free is something that'll be, because it'll require a lot of resources. It's like a huge startup, right? It's like saying that I'm going to conserve forests. It's not an easy task, and finding a good way, and not for profit, right? And that makes one thing easy. So you're not looking for profit. Make your money elsewhere, bring that and help this is something that I'd like to do. It's like, what if every little village, every little place could have a lovely, sweet library, which is a very important place for kids, which I don't see around anymore.
Okay, okay, that's a good part. That's a good part. I would love to see you being the director of one big movie soon, man. I know
Yep.
you will be there. I know you love to tell stories, and now you are in the industry. You are in the place that you can make it possible. So I just hope.
Thank you.
I just
And
hope you
hopefully
just
the day is close that I bring you over here as well.
that I wanted to tell
For
her.
a role in the
Just
movie,
go
like I
for it,
promised.
and I will be there working. You told me that 5 years ago, so I will.
I did too.
I'm waiting for it.
I'm sending you all those videos. Just practice the moves.
I've been learning. I've been seeing some Bollywood movies and some Bollywood music videos, and I'm trying to learn
Absolutely.
the mood, to to
Perfect.
be there.
Perfect.
Perfect, man. Finally, I would like to know what do you think about NFTs. I know it's a big subject, and I know.
Very
Uh,
large subject. We're talking about it. A, for me, it's excellent for one reason, uh, which is that it's direct to the audience. It's pretty much like, uh, how do I say? It's not about the. I'm not looking at the wicked lot of monies that a lot of people made. I'm looking at the fact that I could sell something for, let's say, $1,000 or $100, and then it goes down the chain. It starts accumulating value. The fact that it's my original that's out there and the value is appreciating for it is certainly interesting for me as a business loop, right? And second thing is that I think art should have been always this way. And instead of being gated by a few people who says that, like, okay, you're gallery worthy or you're not gallery worthy, forget it, direct to the audience, basically. Just removing all the vanity out of it and just putting out something. Why a lot of people are also shocked about it is also because they're like, you mean to say that crappy looking piece is art? So that impact is there for some people. Okay, there are a lot of gifts and there's a lot of that, but you shouldn't look at it.
Memes.
That's always going to be there, right? And the great guys are always going to be there. The good guys are always going to be there.
Okay.
So what I like within that, which is my interest right now, is that you'd see on Instagram today that every known big artist out there, let's say in the entertainment industry, at least the masters that from THU, etc., are promoting a lot more artists now, right?
Yeah.
So this artists are trying to promote the value of artists, which like never ever before, which is a fantastic thing that's happening.
That's a good. I mean, I love that. I love that sense of having finally your art valued, because we've been
Yeah,
doing art for 10 years. You have been doing art for 25 years, and a lot of these studies that we made are out there, but no one pays for them. And it was a lot of effort for us to do that, to come up with these kind of
yeah,
studies and these kind of practices and portfolio stuff. And this is the chance to sell them. This is the chance to value them as they worth. I think that's amazing.
yeah,
But sometimes
yeah,
I think that people are doing it just for the sake of money. Like
yeah,
do whatever they want, do whatever a quick piece just to because they know someone is going to buy it,
yeah,
and that's the thing that I don't like. Like
yeah.
doing art
Very
just
true.
for the sake of money and not because it's a true art, true to themselves, true to the to what they used to do. So I don't know. There's mixed feelings for me in the NFT industry now.
Yeah. Now, I always believe that if you open a plot of land and say open to one and all, you're going to have all sorts of people coming in. But the moment you start gating it, you become classist. So that's going to be the trouble, right? Like when you open up something, everybody's going to be there, and you got to be accepting of it and the fact that we'll all find the people that we like. As simple as that. So what if somebody made a million or a billion over there? They anyway do that outside in the
Let them
real world.
be.
I'm glad an artist made it.
That's yeah. That's. I'm just like kind of offended when they sell a meme in a lot of money. They're like, what the fuck, man? He's like, it's a fucking cat. Like, come on, man. It's crazy. Well, my friend, it's been amazing to be with you here. It's been amazing
Thank
to
you.
have the chance to talk to you. If you guys in the public have any other question, just drop it. Some of the last questions here to PC Vikram. For now, thank you very much for being with us. I enjoyed a lot this time. I hope you
Thank
enjoyed
you
it
so
too.
much.
The idea of these crowd sessions, this crowd live, is to hang out. Getting out of some serious interviews but more about talking with friends, having a beer, having a coffee.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like showing the world and showing people that we can have fun through art. We can have fun through these kind of interviews, you know, and all of us can be close to the industry right now because there are no boundaries, there are no geographic limitations, you know. So let's go for it. Let's do your blueprints, and tell your stories.
Yep. Let's start blueprinting.
Do you have any last advice or any last comment you want to say to
No,
people?
no, not really. I think I'm really, really happy to have just spoken to you like a conversation, and it's very organic and it's not very formal, and it's also an opportunity for me that a voice from your side and a voice from my side would pass on to two, even if it's just a few people, to two nations, and I hope that we can do a lot more of these kind of sessions where uh, sharing is happening not just from I want something, but it's a question of just sharing for the sake of sharing. It's just like people sitting together chatting stories and getting to know more culturally and bridging these gaps. And it's amazing. 20 years before, I wouldn't have believed it if somebody told me that I would be sitting with this young man from Colombia just chatting, and this conversation is open for the world to see, right? And that would have been like, I wouldn't have known it. Like, I wouldn't have understood what that was 20 years ago,
Of
basically.
course, yes.
So I'm supremely grateful for this opportunity. And to you, Andre.
No, thank you very much, man. And that's amazing, no? How we can merge two cultures in one in this kind of sessions. You're always welcome to come back. Maybe we can talk about it. Maybe we can have. You gave me a lot of ideas in your last comment. So maybe we
Okay.
can have later a show doing some portfolios or some sketching sessions, whatever.
Fantastic.
Maybe we can we can
Fantastic.
we can have another crowd live. So you are always welcome. If you want to,
Thank you.
if
I
you
surely
want
would take you
to,
up.
yeah, if you want to tell something, to give a talk, whatever you want to do, just let me know, and I just schedule it because I love to have you here in the crowd live. And thank you very much. All
Thank
of you
you.
guys, thank you very much for being with us. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros en Crad Live. Este fue Crad Live número 38 con el gran PC Vikram. Así que, chicos, gracias. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much for joining this interview. Please give a like to the video, share it. This is the opportunity to share the world what we are doing. So go for it. And yeah, goodbye, guys.
Awesome. Bye bye.
Thank you.